Greetings, brilliant scholars, and welcome to Literacy and Learning with Avant-garde Books. I am Cherie Hardy, and I hope that you are well. Before we get started with today's lesson, I would like for you to make sure that you're in a very comfortable place and you are relaxed as we honor the life and legacy of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King once said, "When evil men plot, good men must plan. When evil men burn and bomb, good men must build and bind. When evil men shout ugly words of hatred, good men must commit themselves to the glories of love." Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, the second child of Martin Luther King Sr., a pastor, and Alberta Williams King, a former schoolteacher. Along with his older sister Christine and younger brother Alfred Daniel Williams, he grew up in the city's Sweet Auburn neighborhood, then home to some of the most prominent and prosperous African Americans in the country. A gifted student, King attended segregated public schools and at the age of 15 was admitted to Morehouse College, the alma mater of both his father and maternal grandfather, where he studied medicine and law. Although he had not intended to follow in his father's footsteps by joining the ministry, he changed his mind under the mentorship of Morehouse's president, Dr. Benjamin Mays, an influential theologian and outspoken advocate for racial equality. After graduating from Morehouse in 1948, King entered Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, where he earned a Bachelor of Divinity degree, won a prestigious fellowship, and was elected president of his predominantly white senior class. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks, secretary of the local chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a Montgomery, Alabama bus and was arrested. Activists coordinated a bus boycott that would continue for 381 days. The Montgomery bus boycott placed a severe economic strain on the public transit system and downtown business owners. They chose Martin Luther King Jr. as the protest leader and official spokesperson. By the time the Supreme Court ruled segregated seating on public buses unconstitutional in November 1956, King, heavily influenced by Mahatma Gandhi and the activist Bayard Rustin, he entered the national spotlight as an inspirational proponent of organized, non-violent resistance. King had also become a target for white supremacists who firebombed his family home that January. Dr. Martin Luther King traveled across the country and around the world giving lectures on nonviolent protests and civil rights, as well as meeting with religious figures, activists, and political leaders. During a month-long trip to India in 1959, he had the opportunity to meet family members and followers of Gandhi, the man he described in his autobiography as the guiding light of our technique of nonviolent social change. King also authored several books and articles during this time. Here is another powerful quote by Dr. King. "We must live together as brothers or perish together as fools." Martin Luther King Jr. worked with a number of civil rights and religious groups to organize the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, a peaceful political rally designed to shed light on the injustices Black Americans continued to face across the country. Held on August 28th and attended by some 200,000 to 300,000 participants, the event is widely regarded as a watershed moment in the history of the American civil rights movement and a factor in the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Remember these powerful words by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." In 1963, at the March on Washington, King culminated with his most famous address, known as the "I Have a Dream" speech, a spirited call for peace and equality that many consider a masterpiece of rhetoric. Standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, a monument to the president who a century earlier had brought down the institution of slavery in the United States, King shared his vision of a future in which this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. The speech and march cemented King's reputation at home and abroad. Later that year, he was named Man of the Year by Time magazine. In 1964, Dr. King became the youngest person ever to be awarded the prestigious Nobel Prize for Peace for his tireless work to empower people with civil rights and social justice. King believed that all inhabitants of the United States should be judged by their personal qualities and not by the color of their skin. He adhered to Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. In 1955, he began his struggle to persuade the U.S. government to declare the policy of racial discrimination in the southern states to be unlawful. Dr. Martin Luther King was married to the beautiful Coretta Scott King from 1953 until his death in 1968. Together, they had 4 children: Yolanda King, Martin Luther King III, Bernice King, and Dexter King. One of Dr. King's most famous books is Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. Each year, we can remember and honor the legacy and life of Dr. King through serving others. Dr. King once said, "Everybody can be great because everybody can serve." On April 4th, 1968, Dr. King was assassinated at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. And while his body was shot down and his life ended in 1968, his legacy will live forever. You can visit the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C. This memorial honors Dr. King's legacy and the struggle for freedom, equality, and justice. A prominent leader in the modern civil rights movement, Dr. King was a tireless advocate for racial equality, the working class, and the oppressed around the world. Here is something to reflect upon. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Thank you for listening, watching, and learning with Avant-garde Books. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a beautiful day. Information for this presentation was taken from the following websites: